Hello everyone and welcome to another video. Now before I get started I want to quickly mention the $5 PC Dell build. The GPU for that has finally been ordered and there will be an update very soon. Also, as I mentioned yesterday, I've set up a second channel for looking back at older games, which I'll link here and down below. Now some of you guys may recognise this CPU cooler. It's sat atop a few processors in budget builds, and I originally came to own it after I bought an i5-1156 motherboard bundle some time ago. I noticed a few days ago that it was running very loud, and as you can probably tell by how it looks, it isn't the beefiest of items. So I took to the internet and eventually found a Chinese wholesaler on eBay who was selling these at a ridiculous price, £2.49. About €2.91 and just over $3. I don't know if this is a rip-off of more expensive hardware, but I've been using it for the past couple of days in my main system, and today we're going to be talking about the results. CPU cooling is very important, and usually I use a Cooler Master 103, which does a great job at keeping my i5-4460 cool. But let's take a look around this thing. It's a 1156 socket CPU cooler, which means it's compatible with 1150 as well as 1155 processors. It's pretty weighty and has a copper bottom with a front-facing fan and 4-pin connection. There isn't really much else to say about it, and even the page selling these doesn't offer any real information. They have sold over 100 though, and it makes me wonder if any of those people risked it with a more expensive CPU. If you look around on various sites, it won't be long before you find similar aftermarket or OEM options like this. But was it efficient? And how did it compare to my Cooler Master or even a stock Intel cooler? Let's find out. Now at idle with my aftermarket Cooler Master 103, the i5 sits at 30 degrees Celsius. The stock Intel cooler sits at 38, and our aftermarket $3 one sits at 40. None of these speeds are too high, but obviously the lower the better, as when we start gaming those temperatures will rise pretty quickly. So we jumped into a few games for an hour each with the ultra settings and recorded the temperatures on average across all 4 cores and all of our games using our $3 cooler as well as the other two. As you can see here, the average temperature for the Cooler Master was 52, which is pretty good. The stock cooler reported a 60 Celsius average, and our $3 beast stuck at around 64. Now I have a pretty cold room because, you know, English weather, and none of those temperatures are extremely high. But I like to see things sort of stay below 65, and that was the case most of the time across the board. We also performed an IDA 64 CPU stress test and saw a reasonable 55 degrees Celsius on our Cooler Master, 63 with our stock cooler, and 70 with our OEM heatsink, which I didn't really like the look of. Some of you may say that it isn't that hot, but the noise was something else, probably due to the tiny fan on the front. Aside from this test, I didn't really do anything else out of the ordinary, but I would have trouble using something like this long term, especially on my personal CPU, and I always had a real temp window up, keeping a close eye on things. In conclusion, these cheap CPU coolers probably could do the job that they were intended for, but for the sacrifice of lower temperatures and the thought of the CPU melting on your mind, it isn't really worth trying to cut corners with a vital component like this, especially when even the stock cooler showed better results. So guys, thank you so much for watching. I thought this would make for an interesting test because there are a lot of cheap coolers like this floating around online, especially this one at that ridiculous price. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Like I said before, there will be an update on the $5 Dell very soon. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like, leave a dislike if you didn't, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and hopefully I'll see you all in the next one.